we will show you how to rebuild the body of the Ninja Reg. If for any reason you are uncomfortable with this, please contact Ninja Paintball at 877-NINJA-USA, on the web at ninjapaintball.com, or have a qualified airsmith assist you. The body of the regulator is located below the bonnet and holds the two burst discs, the fill valve, and the gauge. The dual burst discs play an important role in the regulator. Both burst discs are ASTM compliant and are a one-piece unified design. The high pressure burst disc is required by Department of Transportation as in place for bottle safety. The low pressure burst disc protects you and the marker in the unlikely event that the regulator should fail. Remember that most failures are caused by contamination, dirt, and debris. As you can see, both burst discs are stamped with their pressure ratings, 1.8K for low pressure and either 5K for 3,000 psi tanks or 7.5K for 4,500 psi tanks. You can always tell which port the burst disc goes into because the low pressure burst disc is above the high pressure burst disc. Both burst discs seal on the face of the plug to eliminate the need for Teflon tape or Loctite. The burst discs are not rebuildable but are easily replaced. First, make sure that the bottle has no air in it. Screw on an ASA or adapter and safely bleed all the air out. Remove the ASA and push the fin valve. You should hear and feel no air coming out. Once all the air has been removed, simply remove the burst disc by turning it with a 3/8 wrench in a counterclockwise direction. They have a normal right-hand thread, just like any other bolt or screw. Once removed, dispose of the old burst disc and install a new unified burst disc of the same pressure rating. To install, simply take the new burst disc and screw it into the correct port. Once hand tight, use a torque wrench to tighten the burst disc down to 55 inch-pounds. Do not exceed 85 inch-pounds. Always use a torque wrench, never tighten by hand, as this could cause damage to the reg or the burst disc. The burst discs do not require any tape or Loctite as they seal at the end of the plug. Torque wrenches can be found at almost any hardware store. Please follow the directions for the torque wrench to use properly. If the Ninja Reg should leak from the gauge where it screws into the body, simply removing the gauge and installing a new one will solve this problem. The gauge can be unscrewed the body using an adjustable wrench or a 15/16 wrench. Simply place the wrench on the gauge and gently turn in a counterclockwise motion, just like any other bolt or screw. Once removed, clean out any old Teflon tape from the port and the threads and check for any damage. Do not use the reg if any damage has occurred to the threads in the reg. Now simply apply new Teflon tape or install a new gauge into the port. Ninja Paintball always recommends the use of our black Ninja tape, but any Teflon tape from a hardware store will work. Please see our video on Ninja tape instructions. Once a gauge is retaped, simply put it back in, hand tight. Then use your wrench to tighten it all the way on. Do not over tighten the gauge, as you can very easily damage it. The threads are tapered, so the further you turn it, the tighter it will become. The fill valve is unscrewed just as the gauge was. Use a 5/16 wrench on the flats to turn the fill valve out. Also, as with the gauge, clean any old Teflon tape out from the port threads and the threads of the fill valve. Do not use a rag if any damage has occurred to the threads. The fill valve has two parts, the body and the strut. The strut has a cast O-ring on it that does not require any lube. Make sure both the strut and the inside of the fill valve are cleaned. The strut length allows for easy installation and prevents dirt from entering the reg. To install, simply take a taped fill valve, screw it in hand tight, and then turn it in at least 2 full rotations. Once tightened, ensure that the strut clicks in the regulator. This means you did not install the fill valve too far. If the strut does not travel correctly and you do not hear the click, the regulator will not hold air, and you need to back the fill valve approximately 1/4 of a turn to see if you can get it to click. For more rebuilding instructions, please see our other videos.